and welcome to another new episode of the Gig Nerd. Thank you so much to everyone who watched my Idols video a few days ago. It was by far my most watched video and seems to be my most enjoyed video so far. So genuinely, thank you so much.
Couldn't really give a shit, to be honest.
Music videos as much as I can, hopefully 2 or 3 times a week. So please subscribe. But shall we talk about Tommy Shelby's favourite band? Shall we talk about the Boys in the Better Band? Shall we talk about Fontaines bloody DC? Fontainesdc are an Irish alternative post-punk band, and to be honest, in my opinion, they're one of the best rock bands around at the moment. We're now 4 albums into their varied, flawless, interesting, exciting, and brilliant career, and it's looking more and more like they're going to be one of the biggest rock bands on the planet, but more importantly, they've done it on their terms. In my opinion, Fontaines are simply one of the most exciting bands around at the moment. I'm going to be talking everything Fontainesdc in this video, but it's mainly a response to a few things that have happened recently. Firstly, and most obviously, their masterpiece of a new album, Romance. It came out a few weeks ago now, but I just cannot stop playing it. Also, the recent fight to the death that happened a few days ago between Fontaines and Liam Gallagher. Well, Fontaines minus green, that is, but we'll discuss that later. But shall we start talking about Fontaines, shall we, Spunk Bubbles? I really don't want to speak too soon, but I honestly think Romance will end up being my album of the year. The 4 singles that dropped in advance, Starburster, Favourite, Here's the Thing, and In the Modern World, drew the excitement and the hype for me absolutely perfectly. And in my opinion, it was the perfect album rollout. They dropped 2 singles a few months ago, then dropped 2 singles the week of the album, and it drew the anticipation perfectly. And in my humble opinion, this record did not let us down. They've said it's somewhat inspired by Korn and Deftones, but to me, it sounds more like The Smiths and The Cure, and it's that good. Romance was produced by now legendary Arctic Monkeys producer James Ford, who's done every Arctic's album since Favourite Worst Nightmare, and I think his production fingerprints are all over this album. The opening self-titled song on Romance reminds me very much of Sculptures from The Car by Arctics, and a lot of Romance does remind me of elements of The Car and Arctic's recent output. And even though they are very different albums, I personally think Romance excels in a way that The Car doesn't, in that Romance is fun at points. I love Arctic's recent output, more than most people, but it can be quite slow and plodding, and there's nothing like Here's the Thing, Starburster, or Favourite by Arctics anymore. They're just not that band, and they're not fun. Whereas Fontaines are very fun. This is now Fontaines' 4th album, and it's not only their 4th brilliant album, but it's their 4th album, which is vastly different to the last one. They're constantly mixing up, and they're constantly saying exciting. But in my opinion, Romance is their 2nd true classic, after the amazing Skinty Fear. Skinty kind of feels like a more whole body of work that demands to be heard in full, but Romance is just a collection of their best songs. Every single track on Romance sounds like it could be a single, whereas Skinty flows so perfectly, it really feels like a book that has to be heard in chapter order, and that feels very much intentional with that album. Knowing the boys and Graham's poetry background, but it's not a criticism, just another way I think the boys have tried to make each album sound fresh, original, and different. I'm glad Skinty, Romance, and the first 2 albums have totally different vibes. Each listen rewards you with something new on every album. And I do really have to mention those first 2 albums as well. Dogrel and A Hero's Death, they're both incredible, they're both how we got here, and they're really worth a listen. It shows their growth amazingly. If I had to say something bad about Romance, it would be that I kind of think it's ordered and sequenced a little bit wrong. I really wish that Favourite wasn't the final track, and I do think that Hoarseness would have been a far better album closer. And I do think that Romance is easily Fontaines' most mainstream and fun album, but those shouldn't be seen as dirty words. This is an assault on the mainstream by Fontaines on their terms. They're still super weird, they're still super exciting. They've just managed to yet again slightly divert course into something new. This album's still full of depth, it's still beautiful, and it's still stunning at points. This is a genre style change done right. Skinty is one of my favourite albums regardless of genres in recent years, and I never thought Romance would rival it, but it does. And if Favourite is anything to go by, album number 5 is going to make Fontaines the biggest rock band on the planet. Some fans may not be too happy, as this is a world away from Liberty Bell, Big, and Boys in the Better Land, but boys do need to grow, and bands like Fontaines have grown naturally, progressively, and beautifully. It's not felt forced, and it's fair to say that Doggerel and Romance may sound like different bands, but in my opinion, that is a great thing. My personal favourite tracks on the album are Desire, Favourite and its Sweet Childhood music video, and In the Modern World, but it's very close to being a flawless album, and I absolutely adore the backing vocals across not only Romance, but their entire career, but especially on Sundowner, Desire, and In the Modern World again. It enhances all their songs so much. And there's even been an outfit and style change, which they've stated was very much intentional. And it definitely does go with the more colourful and vibrant, happy vibe of Romance. And not that it matters, but I really do wish this was Fontaine's third UK #1 album. A Hero's Death was stopped getting to #1 by a last-minute sales tactic from the evil Taylor Swift, and Romance was stopped getting to #1 by my ex-girlfriend Sabrina Carpenter. But it doesn't matter, we still all know Fontaines are amazing. So finally, had you asked me a few days ago, I would have told you that my #1 choice for Oasis support would have been Fontaines. And there was even a fake poster going around apparently confirming it. But it turns out that Fontaines couldn't really give a shit. Well, excluding Korean that is, which I massively respect of him to be honest. And Liam, well, Liam can say whatever he wants. But that's exactly what Oasis would have said in their mouthy 90s prime. I'm sure it kind of is annoying that Oasis have reformed right now for Fontaines. Well, excluding Korean. And I love the fact that yet again, Fontaines have done things their own way. They're focused on themselves and their Finsbury Park show, rather than being a support band. Oasis do not need Fontainesdc. But I don't think Fontainesdc need Oasis either. And one thing I will say is I do think Grian reminds me of Liam a little bit sometimes. And although Fontaines don't really sound like Oasis, I do think they probably are a little bit inspired by them, which has been confirmed by Grian with his defensive Instagram comment. But I would be getting defensive too if I was in Grian's position. I love Oasis. I personally would want to support Oasis. I don't want Oasis to think that I think that they're shit. And who knows, with Fontaines having supported idols in the past, and with their stupid clash at Glastonbury this year, maybe we have a new Oasis versus Blur for the modern age. But to answer the original question that I posed, the reason I think Fontaines are so damn good is simple. They're artists at heart. What matters most is the music. And they seem to be genuine, firm friends. There's tons of photos and videos of them just hanging out, having beers, Grian, always in a kilt. So long live Fontainesdc, long live the music, and long live their friendship. Romance, album of the year? I genuinely think it could be. I really hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I just wanted to talk about my passion for Fontainesdc. This has been another new episode of The Gig Nerd. I'm going to be posting loads of new videos coming up, loads of live footage I've been to from the past, and just anything music related. So please sub, please enjoy the videos, and have a good one. Take care.